Hello guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Liz. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys what I wish I knew before moving to San Antonio, Texas. So I'm pretty sure most of you guys know that I moved 2 years ago from Boston, Massachusetts to San Antonio, Texas. And these are the top things that I wish I knew before I moved out of state. So I'm going to be looking at my little handy notes. So I just went ahead and put notes that way I don't go too much off track. And so I do apologize if I keep looking down. So first of all, this is going to be basically logistics and planning. One of the first things that I underestimated is research. You want to definitely research. I feel like I thought it was definitely going to be easier and like less things were going to come into account when moving out of state. We had to think about the cost of like shipping the car, the cost of or flight tickets. We didn't even think about or consider flight tickets. We were just talking about, oh, we're going to move out of state. But we didn't consider all those hidden costs that we didn't like, that didn't come up the first time. So obviously the flight tickets, are you going to be driving? Are you going to be shipping your car? You also need to put the moving expenses into that. So that will be like moving boxes. Are you going to get help from other people to help you move? Are you going to use your family? But you still need to put the supplies. Like we probably wasted like $200 just on actual supplies like boxes, tapes, some sort of instruments to avoid damaging the furniture, like the covers and all of that. It was a lot of money. So definitely make sure you do your research and take everything into account, because as little as it may sound, it could actually add up in the end and you'll see all the expenses and all of that. And like I was mentioning, all the hitting moving costs. So you definitely want to make sure that you kind of just write everything down, if that's like on a planner, like how I have it here on your phone, and just make sure you're putting bullet point by bullet point how much you're going to be spending for each thing. So that way you guys anticipate what the moving expense is going to be. Like for us specifically, it was about 9K. Like it sounds like a lot, but it was actually insane. We spent almost 3K on shipping the car. We spent on boxes and supplies, that was like $200. We spent a lot of money just on the actual truck from Boston to San Antonio, Texas. That was almost 5K. And it was a trailer, so all they did was drive the actual stuff. They didn't help us like unpack or pack or even help us carry the boxes. We had to do that ourselves. So thankfully in Boston, we had a family, so they helped us out during that whole process. But once we got here, we realized it's only us two. So what we did, we just went into this specific app that you can kind of just book moving people. So we just booked them for 2 hours, and thankfully they were pretty quick. And I think we spent like $200 on there. So yeah, definitely make sure you know all those hitting moving expenses. Like for example, when I moved, I didn't know you have to pay for pest control. You have to pay for the trash, like for the trash, because for us, they come and pick it up. None of that stuff like I even thought about. So make sure you know all the hitting moving costs. And then still in the same category, logistics and planning, packing hacks. So kind of make sure that you're getting the things that you actually need. I feel like I bought so many supplies for moving and packing that I actually didn't end up using. I feel like I was just wasting money basically. I feel like I was wasting money on these like packing supplies that I actually end up not even using. So make sure that when you're buying stuff, you either save your receipt, not like me, like I threw everything away. That way you can like either return the supplies or just make sure you're not overbuying and just making the cost way higher than they should be. And then another thing that I wish I knew before moving out of state, this is going to be a whole category. So this is going to be basically emotional and social adjustment, combating homesickness. So that's the first thing. As soon as I moved out of state, the first thing I felt was just lonely, just so far from my family. So definitely you're going to have to combat homesickness depending how you are. For me, for example, I'm not somebody that spent too much time with my family, but I still felt homesick for the first probably like 2 months. So make sure you have either like friends or people that can support you throughout the process, because at the beginning it's not going to be easy. And then think about how you're going to be building a new social circle. So obviously for somebody like me, I didn't know anybody here, so you want to make sure you're joining activities, either going to your neighbors' events. Like sometimes in the building they do events, that way you can kind of meet other people. Or maybe you're moving to a place that you already have friends in there, so that even works out even better. So just make sure you're kind of connecting with people, that way you're not isolated and just feeling too lonely. And then another thing that I didn't realize was the culture shock. Like when I moved here, the culture shock was so different. I felt like I was like an outsider. I felt like I didn't even belong here. Like that's how bad it was at the beginning. I feel like I just felt like an outsider. I wasn't really connecting with people. And like even like the kind of things that people say, I didn't really relate to that. But now obviously after 2 years here, I feel a lot more comfortable. But yeah, the culture shock is going to be completely different, especially moving from a place like Boston, Massachusetts, where the culture is so much more different than Texas. So yeah, keep that in mind because I definitely did not think I was going to have any culture shock. This is going to be basically a separate category. This is just going to be unexpected challenges. So for this category, it's going to be things such as finding a new job. These are going to be unexpected challenges, like you don't know if you're going to be able to find a job right away unless you're relocating for a job, which I wasn't. I was just came here just to kind of have a new perspective in life, change my location, all of that. I didn't have a job set up, but thankfully I was able to find a job within a month of living here. So that was honestly, that was like a miracle. I don't even know. I thought it was going to take way longer for me to find a job, but I'm super grateful that I was able to find a job in a short amount of time. But obviously that's not going to be the case for everybody. So just make sure you're probably applying before you even move. I think I started applying like 2 months before moving. That way by the time I got here, I got interviews set up and all of that. So just keep that in mind. And as well as finding an apartment. Finding an apartment is not going to be easy. You want to make sure that you like the location, you like the social things that are on the building, the amenities, you like the actual apartment. So just make sure you're actually doing your research and not moving to the first place that you find. That way you're actually feeling comfortable. And then another unexpected challenge was just those hidden fees that I was talking about. So for example, when I first moved here, I thought I was going to be paying like $1,500. But actually, after all the expenses and everything added to it, I'm actually paying like 1,700 and something. Like sometimes it correlates from 1,740 to 1,750. I know it doesn't seem like a lot for a 2-bedroom and the apartment's huge. We have really good amenities, but I really thought I was going to be paying from 1,500 to 1,600. But like I said, there are hidden costs. So for example, you're going to be paying for pest control. Like for example, for me, you're going to be paying for trash. For me, here in Texas, one thing I have to take care of too is the water and sewer. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but water and sewer. I never had to pay for water and sewer in Boston. That was all part of the tenant or just the apartment's responsibility. But here in Texas, you actually have to pay for your water, at least for my building. So these are just hidden costs. So I'm paying like $150 to $200 more than I anticipated. I'm not going to be complaining, but these are the kind of things I'm telling you guys to make sure you do your research. That way you're not getting these kind of shocks as I did. So these are the kind of things I wish somebody told me. That way I didn't make these mistakes. And then my last category will be positive aspects. Here, I feel like there are good benefits. Obviously, the benefits in Boston, I feel like they help you out a lot more, like specifically for health insurance. Like, yes, I have health insurance here, but compared to what I had over there, it's definitely less than the help that I used to get over there. So these are kind of things you want to think about. Just make sure that if you're moving out of state, you're looking at the little rules that they have or whatever. I wouldn't say rules, but things that people talk about, that way you're not getting this shock when you move. Like for example, I didn't think the health benefits was even going to affect me. I thought like if I have a job, I can get the health insurance and it'll be wonderful. But obviously there are some cons of these health insurances here in Texas, and the amount I have to pay for my health insurance here is definitely way more than what I used to pay back in Boston. But these are kind of things that I'm mentioning to you guys that I wish I knew before I moved here. And then I also want to talk about some positive aspects. So these are things that I didn't really expect, but they actually worked out perfectly. So for example, I have found really great hidden gems, like such as restaurants, things to do here in Texas I absolutely love. So these are just positive things that come from moving out of state. And then obviously here we don't have state taxes. That was a big pro for me. The only con about that is that just because you're not getting state taxes, that means that they're not really helping you out as much as Massachusetts, for example. I feel like Massachusetts is a state that's all about helping people. Here they're more not as flexible to do that. Make sure you're making a list, comparing things, and making sure that it is the right decision for you. For me, for example, I know that these are things that I wish I knew before I moved out of Massachusetts, but these are not things that I will say would make me unhappy about living here in Texas. These are just things that I wish I knew so I could feel more prepared about the moving out of state. And then another positive aspect about moving out of state is just my overall personal growth. So I have grown so much more than what I was doing back in Massachusetts. So there's definitely some pros about, or some hidden gems about me moving out of state. But I hope this video served you guys. I hope these are kind of things that you can start thinking about when moving out of state. Things that I wish I knew when moving from Boston, Massachusetts to Texas. These are kind of the things that I wish somebody was like, Liz, like, pay attention to the hidden costs, pay attention to all the deposits, the fees, and all the flight tickets and all of that. Just make sure you're researching and making sure that you're completely prepared to move out of state. So that is pretty much everything for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment down below if you have any questions about moving out of state or any other things that I wish I knew. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.